Live in about 3 seconds. Hello, everybody. Can everyone hear us? Welcome. We are live. It's going to take a little bit. There we go. Can you guys see us? Hello. I think that you guys can see us. Okay, they can see and hear us. All right, everybody, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to come on in. We're here with Mr. Bob Leatherbarrow from Salt Spring Island in British Columbia. So that's pretty awesome. We have had some connectivity issues because Bob is out there, way out there on that island. So, you know, if it happens, guys, you know how I roll. We're just going to deal with it, and we're going to boot him out, and he'll probably log back in. This is probably going to happen several times, so just bear with us. You guys don't go anywhere. Just stay here, and Bob will keep on logging in. So, Bob, can you hear everybody and see the chat?
So, Tanya, your signal's breaking up to me. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Oh, guys, he already, hold on. All right. There he is. Hi, Ann Knight. Hi, Debbie. Marion. There's so many of you in here. Thanks for coming, everybody. Can you hear us, Bob? All right, guys, we're gonna have Bob come back in. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Oh my word. Okay. Well, we did a test yesterday and it was just fine. Can you hear us, Bob?
Yep.
Okay. Guys, can you hear Bob? Hi, Carol. Bob, you want to say hello to everybody and see if they can hear you?
Hello, everybody. It's going to be an exciting adventure here. See if we actually stay connected the whole time.
Yes. Okay. Yes, they can hear you. Awesome. Woo, guys, this is the thing of live TV, huh? Okay, so guys, if Bob gets booted, don't panic. I'll get him back in there. But no matter what, the show is going to go on. And at the end of the Glass Gab today, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. At the end of Glass Gab today, we are going to give, in about an hour, a Bob Leatherbarrow video of your choice from aaeglass.com. Those are the videos on demand. He's got some fantastic video, guys, how to make the stands, and of course, the crackle, and there's just so many, the wafers. The wafers, those are my favorite, the micro wafers. So that's amazing. So we're gonna start. Bob is coming to us from Salt Spring Island, British Columbia, guys. He is way, way out there. So thank you, Bob, for coming today. We appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for coming. That's amazing. Okay, so Bob, world-renowned glass artist and instructor, also known as the Crackle King. Am I the only one that calls you that, Bob, or do other people call you that too?
I've been accused of that by several people, yeah.
So guys, if you've been living, if you don't know who Bob Leatherbarrow is, I don't want to say you've been living under a rock, because some of you might be new here. But Bob is known as the Crackle King, and I'm going to show you guys some of those pictures super quick here, just to kind of refresh your memory on how amazing he is. Check it out. Okay. You guys can see these. This is amazing, Bob. I want to know this. I want to know this. But we've got some, he's also, organic powders and creating textures and powders. Guys, just some amazing, amazing stuff. Is everybody probably very, very familiar with Bob's work, I would assume? Yes, come on, why is it not sharing? Oh, it's gonna start like this. Hold on there. Get that, you get that. We got a little bit of a delay here, guys, okay? Some of this kind of stuff that Bob does, guys. Hi, Candace Kahn from sunny Palm Springs, California. Guys, we're just going to get into it right away. And the first question that I have for Bob, if you guys have questions or comments, throw them in the chat. We won't be able to get to everybody, but we will be able to get to a lot, okay? So, Bob, we're going to get right into it today. We want to know, I want to know, what have you been doing in your island far, far away what were you doing during this glass pandemic? Were you in there motivating yourself, or were you putting on the COVID-15 as I did, because I ate cookies and ice cream for the first 6 months? I'll be honest. So what have you been doing? Did you find it motivating, or were you in a slump, Bob?
So can you hear me, Tanya?
I can't. No. Oh boy. All right, guys, hold on. We're going to try to. I can hear you, sir.
Okay. So the pandemic really hasn't been a problem for me in terms of my artistry. Every year I do a 3-month or 2 or 3 month what I call my self-imposed residency, and each year I do something completely new, and I really enjoy doing it, and it's led to a lot of ideas that I've now shared through teaching. A lot of things like the pebble techniques and the controlled orientation powders, the impression wafers that there's a video for, the quality of line, the fine line, all these things come out of those. So with the pandemic, I just had, instead of 3 months, I had 12 months. And
so you just kept trucking along then. You weren't in the slump, huh? You just kept right on going.
I just kept going, and I worked every day in the studio. And it just gave me more time to work in the studio. I wasn't traveling for teaching. And so I sort of look at the pandemic as an opportunity to do things. And my mom, when I was a kid, she always said, well, you know, Bob, go out and make some friends. So that's what I decided to do. I couldn't socialize with my normal friends, so I started literally making friends. And that's these little guys here.
Oh, I love those.
They're called my pan pals. I'll just angle my screen down so you can see them. And so I call them my pan pals, which is my pandemic pen pals. And I started doing these to, first of all, like ones like this one here was about protection. And, you know, we're all worried about protection. Yeah. And then I got into various themes. So this one is about the protection of our environment. And so it was really fun. I had a lot of fun making them. And they really brought to roost a lot of the techniques that I work with. So like in this one here, there's the impression wafers that I have in one of the videos. And the stands, like these stands I think are fantastic to showcase the work. And the little starfish down here is modeling glass. So I've been working with all sorts of different things, and I work every day in the studio. So you know, this is my way to explore and have fun and keep learning. And if I'm not learning, I'm just not having fun.
Well, that's the thing. And I think that a lot of people, we had a conversation about this in what was it, like episode 1, our entire conversation for Glass Gab ended up being how a lot of us weren't motivated. And very few of us, I found in chat, said, oh, I went for it. I was working for 7 months, 8 months straight, but a lot did not. So it is motivating to see work such as that. But I'm going to take a shameless plug here, Bob, because the stands, can you show those stands one more time? Because guys, look, I'm not going to sit here and sell you a timeshare through this whole program, but those are super simple and super inexpensive to make. And Bob does have that video on the aaeglass.com website. Bob, can you tell them how much it made? They're so unique and custom to any work that you make. Bob, how much did it cost you to make that stand, if you don't mind telling everyone?
Probably under $5.
$5, guys.
And that's Canadian.
And that's Canadian dollars. That's right.
But the thing I really like about the stands is that I make the piece and the stand complements the piece. It fits the piece.
Exactly.
And so it's not like I'm buying a commercial stand where I have to make the glass to fit the stand.
Right, exactly.
I finish the piece and then I say, okay, how do I want to display it?
It's awesome. Guys, does anyone have any questions for Bob? But probably not just yet, but this Glass Gab is basically for you to get to know our artists that are on aaeglass.com. And, it's not going to be for us to like plug stuff. And then, but we want, of course, we're going to plug a little bit, but we also want to just do something on a Sunday with you guys where, you guys have been with me on Glass Gab, but Bob I think it's very, very interesting to hear what other glass artists have gone through with this pandemic. I mean, especially someone with the stature such as yourself being so well known. Of course, you use your time wisely in the studio. We wouldn't expect anything less from you, Bob. But
and the other real thing about the pandemic is it's forced us to do things differently. So look at online. How much is being done online now, and I think there's many teaching opportunities that have come from not being able to do things live in the studio, which is obviously the best way to do it. But doing them online is working well too.
Yeah, I mean that's the way that the world is going, and it's going that way more than more. CMCK, shout out! Thank you for joining the Fusing Monster Club. There, thank you, JJ Eubank, Ruth Ross Edmonds. How are you guys? We could talk about at the end when Bob's had enough of us. But thank you guys for joining the Fusing Monsters. That is a group that's here on YouTube, and I can see that your name is highlighted. So thanks, guys, for the support. Debbie S. Bob says, I love that you changed with the times, technology-wise, and created your ebooks and learning videos for those of us who cannot afford to travel to take in-person classes. That's huge right now. Don't you agree, Bob?
Yeah, and I made a decision in about 2008 when I was retiring, to go in one of two directions, either to try to become a gallery artist and live from that, or to teach. And I think my real strength is in teaching. And I enjoy the teaching. I love being with creative people. I find it very stimulating. So the ebooks and the videos are my way of getting back out there.
And making it accessible to everyone. And that's what I think is key, because I think everybody needs art in their lives, guys. I don't care if it's glass or painting rocks, as I say, but everybody needs it. And now this is accessible to everyone. There's a great question here, Bob, from Karen Hettenbaum, who says, what is the most challenging aspect of your creative process? I love that question, Bob. Can you tackle that one?
I do all my project planning from a management process. So for me, the hard thing is to come up with the vision. And what do I want to say, what's important, and to do something that I think has meaning, and then to actually translate that into the work. And it's not like saying, oh, I want to do something with this social content and then bang, the next day it's there. I have to go through all the steps of testing, making small samples, isolating one thing at a time so that I know if it's the firing schedule or if it's certain color of glass I'm using. Just change one variable at a time until I finally get my samples to work. And I don't care if the samples look ugly. I just want to know if they're getting me to the vision that I want, and then I execute the piece.
Right.
So really it's, you think, a lot of the time people think, oh, he has this great idea, bang, it's translated into a finished piece. Well, that takes months and months.
Months. Yeah, that's what months of testing. I know I tell people they always see the great end product with the videos that we all create as artists and instructors, but some of my videos take 6-7 months to create, and then there's just so much. I mean, I never call it waste, Bob, because if you're not experimenting, taking chances, and making huge mistakes, I don't think you're getting anywhere. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think I totally agree. And I always joke that my very first day on the job when I was working, my boss said to me, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
Right. Exactly.
And I think I surpassed his expectations.
Mm.
However, I think that as a society, we're too afraid to make mistakes.
Right. Right.
And
That's
so
right.
To me, a mistake is another word for mistake is experience.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes. Now, Bob, because you are known for the crackle, you've become so much further, and it's probably like you're probably so sick of talking about the crackle technique. It's like Rick Springfield's song "Jesse's Girl." How many times does he sing that hit over and over in concert? He probably just hates it now. But I want you guys. This is a very interesting story. Can you let us know? Talk to us about how you saw what was his name? The exhibit that you saw. Tell us how the crackle technique came about. William Morris, I believe, was his name, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So we were on a family holiday in the Pacific Northwest, and went to a building in Seattle. I forget the name. I think it was First Place, and it's a commercial building, but the first floor mezzanine are all art, glass art. And if you come to the top of an escalator, there was a William Morris installation piece. I'd never seen his work before. I literally stopped dead in my tracks. And it was just totally awe-inspiring. And so I bought a catalog of his book called Artifacts. And then I went down to Portland, and I went into the Bullseye retail store, and they had powders, and they were so new that they didn't even have price tags on them. And I didn't realize that the powders and the textual work that Morris did were related. So then I got back home, and I was trying to play with these powders, and I wanted to get imagery into the glass. And every time I did something, I was getting these tiny little cracks in the powder, and there was surface tension pulling them apart. And so I'd throw it out. I have a whole corner of the calorie dump with my name on it, and I'd try again. And then one day, my wife Lisbeth said, "Well, why don't you actually try to make that work?"
Mm-hmm.
I always joke that with every good husband, I pay attention to everything my wife tells me. And so I spent the next 6 months trying to make it work, and I figured out how to make it work. And then I went through this whole progression, and that slide's a really good example. The bowl, the blue bowl in the top left is my very early work, and it's mainly about texture. And then I got into blending the powders and getting this unique palette. So the middle bowl on the top there is probably 10 different colors of powder blended together. And then once I figured out how the crackle worked, I wanted to see, well, what else can you do with it? And I started during one of my self-imposed residencies playing with the concept of how can I change the texture. So I came up with the pebbles, on the bottom left. Isolated pebbles that are floating in a background. And then I also said, well, if I can get them really round like that, how can I get them straight? And so I came up with this other technique, which is the controlled orientation. And both these are in our intermediate ebook. Mm-hmm. So it keeps on progressing. And then I started playing more with the original crackle texture and trying to work other textures into it, and blending powders and putting different kinds of veins in and replacement textures. And that led to the video that AAE sells. And that was going to be the third ebook, but I realized it works so well in the video that I shouldn't bother putting it in an ebook. And it's you really have to see it to see how it works. So it just keeps on evolving and evolving. I keep on thinking once I I'll figure out powder, something happens and I'm off on a new jag.
Well, what I like to say about that is something that you guys probably don't know is the video that is on the aaeglass.com site. What Bob is talking about is blending powders, correct, Bob, with the crackle technique. Now, he's got the ebooks of the basic crackle technique, guys, and they're fantastic and they're wonderful. But this video, I think it kind of slipped under the radar a little bit because we didn't have the voice to tell everybody about that, Bob. We really didn't. You know, you can send it in newsletters and things like that, guys, but having Bob talk about it, I mean, to be able to create your own color palette in powders, I mean, that is a huge door, especially that can be open for custom work. That's the first thing. And filling those veins with the alternate colors. So I'm going to have ask Mark to drop that link in the chat, guys. I want you to check it out because it is the crackle technique, but it's a lot more. And you know what, Bob? There is an excellent question here. I love this question. I love this question, Lisa. Okay, are there any of your books, video are suitable for a beginner and for a small kiln? I get this question all the time, Bob, because most people have 13 and 14-inch kilns. So
yeah, well, actually, the book I'd recommend is the firing schedule book.
Absolutely. Starting at one.
And to me, the firing glass, you know, it's a combination of understanding the physical properties of the glass, the heat conduction, poor conductivity, viscosity, all those things, and then applying that to making the observations and applying that to making a firing schedule. And firing in a small kiln is quite different than firing in a large kiln. And the big problem is your glass is generally close to the heating elements on the side of the kiln or the top, and you're much more prone to thermal shock.
Right.
And so what I do in the firing schedule book, I do mention that the schedules I've posted there are mainly for sort of typical size kilns with reasonable size firing chambers. But if you have a small chamber, here's what you do.
Right.
And you know, generally it's cutting back on your ramp rate in the initial heating, and ways to get away from the top elements if you're slumping in a small kiln.
Absolutely. Oh, Bob, here you go. This is a good one because I was going to bring this up anyway. You know, we're pretty casual, a laid back atmosphere. Bob, are you single? Rochelle asked. And I feel like I sound like a talk show host right now. And Rochelle, how you doing, Rochelle? I haven't talked to you in a long time. But good question, because you know what? Behind every successful man, there is a strong woman, my friends, and that is Lisbeth. And how is she involved in your company? So he's not single, Rochelle, but go ahead, Bob.
So Lisbeth is an intrinsic important part of the business. And if you ever read my posts on social media, I always talk about our books or our business. And it's not the our in the royal we sense where I'm trying to elevate myself to being above me. It's because Lisbeth is such an important part. And Lisbeth was involved with the publishing industry for 30 years. And so she knows everything about designing and proper editing of books. And so when I started writing the books, she would come in and do all the editing and all the production of the books. And so the quality of the books, which I'm really proud of, is a reflection of Lisbeth's input. And for example, in the firing schedules book, I actually wrote that book 3 times over a 15-year period. And the last time was just before it was published. And I would write something and Lisbeth would come in and she'd have read it and said, I don't understand this. Tell me in another way. And so I'd explain it to her again, and she said, I still don't understand it. And so she would keep on asking me questions. And you know, with my background in science, I was used to giving scientific answers. And most of the people involved in kiln form glass do not have a background in science. And so I had to learn to keep on toning it down to make the information accessible and understandable. And it got to the point where in one book, she said, I was describing in the text how to do something. And she said, I don't get it. Show me how you do it. And so I had to go into the studio and I had to do it for her. And then she was, okay, here's how you do it. And she wrote it up that way. So she is, the quality of the books, which, as I said, I'm really proud of.
Yeah, they're excellent. I think you could probably charge $100 for those. I'm just saying. I'm sorry, guys. Especially the firing schedule one. That is vital to your success. I think one of the biggest questions, as a matter of fact, I took a survey, Bob, about last month on the Facebook page, guys. I don't know if you remember that. I said, what is the one thing that you are struggling with, or if you could learn something from me, what would it be? And it was like 80% firing schedules. Of course, we plugged your book, Bob, but if you don't understand what's going on in the kiln, how can you reproduce the results successfully over and over again? And how can you learn from it to get better? And how can you solve problems? I mean, it's all about solving problems. And I think a lot of people are limited by, they want to get their vision into the glass, but they don't know how to do it. Yes. And so to me, if you can remove the technical problem of how do you actually get the glass to behave the way you want and to come up with the product you want, that to me is the biggest challenge. Exactly. Guys, just to kind of just to remind you, you got to stick around we're going to go about a half hour or more, but you do have to be present to win one of Bob Leatherbarrow's videos. He's got 4 to choose from. And so what will happen here is anybody that has made a comment in the chat, we have a random app comment picker thingy. And if you haven't made a comment, it's okay. Don't panic, guys. So what we'll do is when I say go, you get like 30 seconds to put hashtag AAE Glass in. Not now. And then YouTube random comment picker will pick somebody and you will win any of the videos. No matter what the price, you get one. So stick around. That was my commercial break, Bob. Okay. Karen Juju, today this is excellent. Karen, you're on it today, girl. She says, I have more than one creative outlet that I feel has helped me in learning about glass. I'm curious, Bob, if you have any other skills that have helped you along the way. I think I know the answer to this, but I want you. Well, that is a great question. And I think a lot of the time as artists, we try to say, I'm an artist and I don't want to have all these other things that muddy the background. But I was a geologist for 30 years plus. And part of that, I don't know if you have that image. Can you bring that image up of me in the field? Okay, let me try. Just keep talking. So 2 things about geology. Number 1 is that it's an inexact science. So I had to learn how a lot of scientific things, but they don't work rigorously like, physics or chemistry. And so you had to learn how to adapt things. I also had to, if you go up to the very top of that one, Tanya. Oh, it's the top. Okay, keep going. Okay. And so geology is an inexact science, and I was an exploration geologist. And so, I'd be drilling exploratory wells, and most of the time they don't work. So you get used to failure. And so the science and the perseverance really paid off. So I included these 2 pictures. This is a picture of me working in the field, and it's under pretty rigorous conditions. This was up in the mountains, in the Selkirk Mountains. And, it was hard to get there. You just had to persevere. And the other picture is Lisbeth and I working in the field. And the nearest person is the photographer. The next nearest person is probably 100 miles away. Totally isolated out there. When were they taken? Working alone, and I use my background in geology. And it's interesting that when you look at my textural work, that's what geology is all about. Is understanding textures and interpreting them. So I just took my natural background and brought it into my art. And I think it's
a lot of people are hesitant about doing that, but many people I know have really good skills that they can bring directly into their art, and it's their experience, their life ambitions and everything, and it's a really good way to be honest with yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm a patient person, and I have a background in inexact science. I am used to making mistakes, and I'm like a bulldog.
You're a bulldog. I love it. Yeah. We have a question here from Vicky. She would like to know, do you plan on creating an ebook to teach us how to make your glass books? Now, those have been floating around on Facebook for a few years. So sorry to put you on the spot, dear Bob, but people want to know.
Well, if you look in Glass Art Magazine, I forget what month it is, but I have an article in the Glass Art Magazine on how to do them. And it was just recently posted in Fused Glass Books and Tutorials. Essentially, how I do it, it's not an ebook. It's a 1,000-word article in Glass Art Magazine that pretty well explains it.
Oh, interesting that you just kind of shared with everybody.
Yep.
Now, we weren't prepared for that question, Vicky, so we don't have a picture of them, unfortunately. But Bob, where can they go and see that picture? Where would be an easy place for them to go see that?
If you just go to our website. Oh,
okay.
the article or the picture?
The picture of the glass books.
Oh, just go to the website.
Okay, your website?
Yep.
Or glass? Okay. I think we can probably put that, guys, below the video. There'll be links to some things, to Bob's videos. And what we'll do is we'll put a link to that for you in the description when this is over. I'll find it for you guys and put it on. Go ahead, Bob.
And by the way, like, those books are very personal as well. Lisbeth has a career in publishing, and books are always around the house. And if you look at the way I assemble them, they're always done in a random. They're not organized. And to me, I love walking into a room and seeing books. And to me, it's the personality of the room, it's the personality of the people living there, and it gives this spontaneous look to the room. So I intentionally do them to look like they're just, what am I reading? And I call them my light reading books. And they're light reading because it's the things that I'm reading right now, but also that I've built them so that when light passes through the pages glow different colors.
Well, your pieces are very, very thought out. And I saw somebody made a comment. I know you kind of touched on this earlier. Someone just made a comment saying, do you just go for it, or do you plan and sketch? But you are a planner, and you test, you sketch. What's your process? Process, Bob? Is it test, sketch, do, test? What's, if you had to put it in bulletin points, what would it be? It's
come up with the concept, and that's just a lot of thinking and maybe some sketching, but I'll take months to do that. Wow. And then after that, I start doing some small test pieces to see if I can get the glass to do what I want it to do. And I call that a negotiation with the glass, because you can trick the glass, and if you understand the properties of glass, you can trick the glass into doing things that you want it to do. Right. And like this bowl here, I'll talk a bit more about this later, but this bowl here, which is something new I've been working on, it's gone to full fuse, but it's only on a single sheet of glass. And so instead of doing the 6mm rule where you have to have 2 layers of glass, I've figured out a way of doing it with 1 layer of glass. And I like that because I like the delicacy of the piece, and it cuts my production costs in half. Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, this is kind of a hard one, because Bob, you and I are different people, but because it says, hi Bob and Tanya, I'm working on creating my own color palettes, and I'm trying to not get frustrated with failures. How do you minimize errors when experimenting?
This is Bob's show, so I'm going to let him take it. And here's my short answer. I don't minimize the errors. I make as many, it's an expensive test usually for me. I make as many mistakes as possible. And actually that usually takes me on a road to something else, and I have to rope myself in to get focused again. That's my biggest problem. But Bob, do you want to try to take that one there?
Oh, that to me is an easy answer. Number one, I keep my tests very small. I use scrap glass, and I don't consider them precious.
Right.
When they
There.
fail, they're gone.
Yeah,
and
good
number
point.
two is I only vary one thing at a time. And it's called the scientific method. So if I'm doing something with where I'm changing the firing schedule, I only change one parameter in that firing schedule. So it might be a hold at a certain temperature. And then I can see what the effect of that hold is. But if I vary two things, like if I varied the glass that I was using and the firing schedule, then I don't know where the failure comes from.
Yeah.
But by varying one thing at a time, I always know where the failure is.
Here's another question.
Go back and then I can go back and work on that one thing until I figure out either how I can do it or that it's not technically possible.
Well, Karen just chimed in with this question that goes right along with what you're talking about right now. She wants to know, have you ever given up on a project because it just didn't work?
Yes, and I think that's good. I have, being a Canadian, I have something in the corner of my studio called the penalty box. And what I do is pieces that aren't working, I put them in the penalty box. It's 2 minutes for holding or 2 minutes for roughing or whatever. and by putting them in the penalty box, every time I walk in the studio, I have to acknowledge their presence. And they say to me, "What are you going to do with me?" And I say, "Well, I'm not sure right yet."
Not quite sure, yeah.
And so I work back and forth, and I keep on, like if I put it in a box, a cardboard box, out of sight, out of mind, I'd never do anything with it. And so by putting it in the penalty box, I force myself to acknowledge its presence. And then it's a negotiation. It keeps on yammering in my ear about what are we going to do. And either I move it out of the penalty box and into something that I think is creative and worthwhile, or it's like a relationship that hasn't gone well. You get to a point where you say, "I'm sorry, this just isn't working anymore." And I literally take a hammer and smash it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not a big person on repurposing things. You know, I hear people say, "Oh, this didn't work, so I'm going to turn it into a pot melt." And to me, you're spending energy and time doing something you don't want to do. And for me, if I have something that gets so far off the rails, I just, okay, that didn't work. I smash it. It's like breaking up in a relationship, right? You feel, after a while, you feel better for it and you've moved on. And you go back and you work on that original piece and you do it the way you wanted to do it. You don't compromise.
See, now I have a hard time letting go, Bob. So you just touched on some kind of maybe something I need therapy for.
Just get a hammer.
I will keep going until I have to make it work, and I have to get the satisfaction of getting something out of it. It might not be what I intended, but I do spend too long. You know, like sometimes I'll say in a video, "Oh, guys, I spent 7 months on this." People will be like, "What are you doing?" And John will say, "Okay, this is becoming the $15,000 experiment. You need to stop." But I feel like I have to have some kind of completion. So you just kind of touched a nerve with me. I think I needed to start doing that, letting it go, moving on. You're not always going to be successful, and accepting that. So
but the other point is that I will work on it for a while if I feel that it's, you know, if it's going to work, if it has a chance. But if I put a lot of energy into it and it's still not going anywhere, then it's time to say goodbye.
It's time to let it go.
It feels so good.
Yeah. Yes, I like hammers. Hammers and smashing stuff is fun for me. So I have a question for you, Bob, actually. And guys, we got about 15 minutes before we're going to announce the winner. So if you make a comment, if you have commented already so far on the video, then you are automatically entered. But we'll give everybody who hasn't commented, all you're going to do is punch in hashtag AAE Glass. Don't do it right now because I don't want to drown out the questions, or just do whatever you want. You guys know I can do whatever you want with me. I'm like the babysitter that lets everybody get away with everything, Bob, okay? But Bob, I do have a question for you, and this is a hard one. What is the one thing that you know now, because you've been doing this since your studio opened in 1988 in Calgary, so we're talking over three decades here. What is the one thing that you know now that you wished you knew then? That's a good question. Come on now.
Yeah, well, it basically boils down to rule number one: there are no rules. And so the thing that I have had the biggest revelation on is this whole idea about equilibrium thickness, where a full fuse project has to be 6 millimeters thick.
Right, the law of glass, supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at this guy here, this is done on 3 millimeters of glass, and this project here is 3 millimeters of glass, and they're all gone to full fuse.
Single layer.
So what I've been doing, it started with the crackle, and I didn't realize the impact of this, but I fire on fiber paper, and the fiber paper has a different coefficient of friction, sliding friction, than the kiln shelf with kiln wash on it. So it's like the fibers in the fiber paper are like Velcro, and they stick onto the bottom of the glass. And then when you take it to full fuse, instead of the glass contracting because of surface tension, it can't move. It's stuck. So I can take it right up to full fuse. And it does create a textural problem because the fiber paper has a rough finish on it, but I do a lot of sandblasting and other things to either fire polish it or repair it. But as I mentioned earlier, it keeps my glass looking delicate, which I think is really important for the glass, and it just sets my work apart. I really like it.
It does set your work apart. So Bob, just a little bit of a teaching moment for everybody here, because I recognize some people from our group on Facebook that are fairly new. When you say the word surface tension, and now I teach a lot, and I usually get half the classes like a blank stare. Can you give some of the newer folks in here a good definition of surface tension? I think it starts with that. If you don't understand that, then you're going to have problems, right?
Yeah. Well, surface tension is something we use every day, or I hope we use every day. It's soap. I'll get back to that in a minute.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
What it is it's a balance between the gravity, the surface tension pulling something together, and the gravity forcing it down. So if you were to take a ladle of molten glass and pour it onto a flat surface, that molten glass would smooth out into a layer that's 1/4 inch thick, because that's its surface tension. And when I was a high school student, we used to roll balls of mercury around on the lab tables. The reason that the mercury forms those balls is surface tension. And so it rolls up. If you had a large piece of liquid mercury, it formed this flat puddle. Think of the movie The Matrix, right? Or no, the Terminator.
Terminator, yeah, when it comes back.
That's surface tension in an action movie.
And so how does that pertain to glass?
I beg your pardon?
I was going to say, and so tell them how that pertains to glass and how
so glass wants to be 1/4 inch thick when it's melted. So it will actually contract if it's less than 1/4 inch, and it'll contract and create holes within the glass. If you have a stack of glass that's more than 1/4 inch thick, it will spread out because it wants to be 1/4 inch. So if it spreads, you just put a dam around it, and that stops it from spreading. So you can end up with a piece that's 1/2 inch thick if you want it. But if you want to have it less than 1/4 inch thick, in theory, you can't do it on a kiln shelf, but you can if you use fiber paper because of that friction.
That's right. And, oh, well, thanks, Sherry. I see that. Hold on one second. JJ Eubank, hello, Fusing Monster. She says, is that how frit balls work from frit? Yes. Exactly.
That's it exactly.
Yep, that's it exactly. So, I see that was an excellent explanation, Bob. Thank you for that. Because I just taught a 5-day class and I was talking about that and I realized that, half of them really did not fully capture, surface tension, and we end up talking about it for 30 minutes. So I just think that that's so important. And especially since you are breaking that rule.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, you're breaking that rule. That's the law of glass, guys.
So the reason that soap works
is
it reduces surface tension in water. So it creates water, a thinner film that allows the water to get underneath dirt and lift it off your skin or your dishes.
Exactly.
So next time you wash your hands, think of surface tension.
See, guys, now look at it. It's like a science class. It's just like going back to school. Okay, Bob, another question from well, I think this might be from Mark, actually. Mark wants to know, what is your best lesson learned from your 30 plus years of kiln formed glass? Best lesson learned that you have to also incorporate into advice for everybody else.
Well, my best lesson is to not be afraid to make mistakes.
Okay.
And I think that making mistakes are a normal part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider it a natural part of the evolution of the project. Mm-hmm. And if you get frustrated by making mistakes or when mistakes happen, as long as you're moving towards the goal that you want, it's okay. So I'm a very patient person. I play the long game. Some of my projects, I'll be thinking, I want to get to, like, right now I'm doing lamp working. My goal is to make a goblet before I die.
And you will. If I know you, you're going to make the best goblet ever.
But I know to do that, I have to learn how to do twists. I have to know how to do marbles. I have to know how to do pulling points. I have to make cane. I have to do all these things to get to there. And I've been working for the last 2 years on those things, just so I someday will make a goblet.
Wow. Okay, we got some questions coming in, Bob. So guys, I want you to get any questions that you have in. We can't get to them all, but this would be the time to get those questions in. We will be drawing to win one of Bob's videos that is hosted on aaeglass.com. So get your questions in. And Bob, we're just going to go through a couple of those questions. And then I have one last one for you too, if you don't mind. Claire would like to know, what thickness of fiber paper works best, Bob?
I like the 1/16 inch fiber paper. And the crackle technique, it bends really easily. And so it's easy to initiate the textures in the powder. And I find with thicker fiber paper, it's stiffer and it doesn't manipulate the powder as well. And the other thing is that the thinner fiber paper is cheaper. So it just
absolutely, yeah.
And the other advantage is thicker fiber paper has more organics to burn off, the binder to burn off, and that can cause devitrification. So the less binder burn off, the better.
I absolutely agree with that. Is it Jolene? Jolene Judge says, Bob, what is the most unusual item you have used in your fusing, or that you were really surprised by the results? You're
going to guess this one for me, Tanya, aren't you?
What's that?
You're going to guess on my behalf?
No, you're doing it.
Toilet paper.
I was just going to say, I know what it is. Yeah. Okay, tell them about the toilet paper.
And I use toilet paper to regulate the amount of water I have in powder, and it's really handy.
It's really handy stuff. And it's cheap, guys. So now definitely you'll have to, you guys have to check out that Crackle video, see how he is using tested compatible, right, Bob?
Yeah, that's right.
That's your famous line, buddy. We have to get you a t-shirt that says toilet paper picture. It says tested compatible. People are going to be like, that's the best ever. You'll make $1 million from that. Jarby, hi Jarves, miss you. It says, what is the strangest thing that's ever happened in your studio that surprised you? Something strange, quirky, anything like that, Bob?
That's a good question, and it's interesting. When we moved to Salt Spring, I had to close my studio down for a year between moving out of Calgary and moving to Salt Spring, and having to renovate a building. And so I didn't do any glass work for a year. And when the studio was redone, I remember it was beginning of February in 2009. And I remember walking into this brand new studio that was just perfect. And I had what I now call my crisis of confidence.
Mm.
And I walked in and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And I had two questions. And the first question was, can I still do it? Because I hadn't done glass for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And could I still actually do it and get consistent results? But the worst, or the bigger and harder question was, do I still want to do it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I had this I call it a crisis of confidence. I remember I can visualize standing in the door thinking, what have I just done? So that actually led me to my very first self-imposed residency. I said, okay, I am going to spend the next 2 months playing, and I'm going to force myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do things that I've never done before and see where it takes me. And I worked every day. I made mistakes. I made small test tiles, and I just kept making things and throwing them out. And at the end of the 2 months, I had pebbles and controlled orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And I came away from that thinking, this was so invigorating for me. It turned my corner. And so every year now I do my self-imposed residency.
Okay.
And
I love it.
I start thinking about that months in advance. It's not like the 1st of January I say, what am I going to do? I sit there and think, where do I want to be in a couple of years? And what I hang around with a lot of artists on the island here, a lot of painters, and they keep on talking about the quality of line. And that's where the fine line video came from. But one of the self-imposed residencies was, how do I get lines into kiln formed glass so I have control over them and they're not wobbling and gaps and everything in them. So I do this every year, and it's just so invigorating.
That takes a lot of self-discipline as well, Bob, really, to get in there for 2 months and do that. Susan, hi, Susan. Hope you're well. Susan it kind of goes along with that, Bob, but Susan asked, surface tension is such an important part of your work. How did you settle on surface tension to become the foundation of your work?
Things started happening pretty with the crackle texture. And I didn't know why. And so that got me looking into the properties of glass. And I finally realized what was causing it. So it wasn't like I said, oh, I know about surface tension, I'm going to tweak that. It was actually the other way around.
Right.
I came across something and I had to figure out why it worked. And and with the teaching, you can't really just go and tell people, just do it till it feels right, and then it'll work. You have to be able to explain it to them. So right. I had to go back and really figure out why things happen. So a lot of the time we have mistakes. That a lot of my work has come from having mistakes and learning to use them. And then once you have that mistake, you have to figure out why it happened, how you can reproduce it. And that's where science and observations really work well together.
Bob, here's the question. And I was just going to ask you almost the same thing. So Marion came in. Thank you. Susan, thank you for that question. Bob, are you working on new ebooks? Obviously, the people want to know if you're working on ebooks. And then I'm going to combine my question in there too, because it kind of goes with that. And I would like to know, what are you currently working on right now in your hidden, private, evil scientist lab dungeon in the island?
Well, so
two questions there too.
So when I finished the fine line video with AAE, it got me going on a jag, and I thought, how can I do other lines? And so I started playing with, and this took me a good year and a half to figure out, but I started playing with, I don't know if you can see this really well, but there are these lines in this drapery piece, and they all are perfectly intersect and overlap, and these are the dense white background and French vanilla stringers, so you're seeing the chemical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that took me on to one thing, was getting this lines as the design. And then after I figured that one out, I thought, well, but there's different kinds of lines. And so another kind of line is this more gestural line here. And
love that.
So I started playing with this. And then there's a third version of that, which I don't have an example of, where I get the exact same curvature to all these lines. And that is an ebook that's all written, and we're just putting the final edits on. We should hopefully have it by the end of the first quarter of next year.
Awesome.
Our plan is.
That is fantastic. Okay, guys, if this is the time, Bob, we're going to give away one of your videos. If you believe we've been here an hour already, it's unbelievable. To me, this just goes by so fast. So guys, if you want to talk, maybe we could just talk every day with the friends. Okay, this is the time to put hashtag AAE Glass. It's the only thing I could think of on a whim. Everybody, you've got 45 seconds, and I know that there's a 20-second delay, so I'm going to be generous. So what you guys want to do is put any comment that you've made so far. You're already in the pool. It's an automatic YouTube app. If you have not made a comment during the show, asked a question, made a comment, you want to do hashtag AAE Glass. And we will let, you're welcome, Ginny. Everybody get in there. And so this is for any video, right, Bob, on our website? They've got 4 to choose from.
Well, any one of my videos.
Yeah, well, yeah, your video. I think they've had enough of Tanya. We want Bob. We want Bob. Okay, get that in there. Hashtag AAE Glass, everybody. There's 179 of you in the chat, and we cannot thank you enough for coming. Yeah, I just thought I'd switch it up, and Mark had an idea to bring on a guest, and the first person I thought of was Bob, because he's very easy to talk to, and he's not boring. And he explains things very, very well. And we've worked with Bob for years now, right, Bob? 10 years or something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
A long time. So he was my first choice, to be honest with you, and Mark's too. And so I do thank you, Bob, very much for spending an hour with us on a Sunday and talking to everyone. That's awesome.
Well, I just love being in with creative people. It's so much fun.
It is, and we're all kind of in the same boat together. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you've been doing glass for, if you're the most professional in the world or whatever, we're all in the same boat. We all have the same love. And that's, I mean, I don't mean to sound mushy, Bob, but that's something pretty cool. All right, guys, so you got 10 seconds to put it in. And then I'm going to see who wins. And then we will kind of close it out. Again, if you are looking for one of Bob's videos, guys, just let me have this 10 seconds of plugging. It's aaeglass.com, and it's on demand. You purchase it, and it's immediately in your library. Immediate. There's no waiting. There's no downloading. You just watch it. The handouts are there. You can download the handouts. And thanks, everyone, for supporting us in such a crazy time this past 2 years, guys. I know it's been nuts, and so it's because thanks for supporting all the glass companies, everybody, because it's been kind of stinky. But let's leave this on a positive. Okay, here we go, guys. We have the winner. And the winner is, I'm typing it in right now, Rocky Barbaro. Rocky Barbaro. I love giving presents. Rocky Barbaro, you are the winner of one of Mr. Leatherbarrow's videos. And so, guys, I think we're going to start doing a giveaway at the end of every single glass gap because I really like giving presents. It's very fun for me. If you have any other questions for Bob, now would be the time. I saw some great comments come through, guys. It's hard for me. I'm kind of navigating the ship here with pictures and everything else, but congratulations, Rocky. That's awesome. So how, Rocky, you want to email us? Let me put that in the chat here. You can email Tanya at info@aaeglass.com. What I need, Rocky, is your account sign-in information. And that would just be your email, hon. Just your email, and then I will upload it right away. And I'll even do it today on a Sunday. You don't have to wait for the office tomorrow if you can get that to me. Bob, thank you. This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Do you have any other things you want to say, Bob, or talk about? We didn't have to kick you out even once. That's amazing.
Yeah. Luck of the draw.
I want to tell them something, that you're working on Burrow. The Burrow, show marble? We didn't show that, and I really want to show you guys. Go ahead, Bob.
So as I said, I wanted to make a stained glass or a lampwork goblet, and so I've been working on borosilicate, and I have a constant oxygen concentrator for the unit, and I've logged in about 1,500 hours on it in the last year and a half. And so I'm still learning. I spend 2 or 3 hours a day just making things. So I've been doing a lot of ornaments right now just to learn skills. So there's twists and there's some implosion marbles. And then this came out of the kiln just this morning. And it's a little implosion marble with a flower in the middle. I don't know if you can see it.
And that is super hard to do, guys. I've done this. I gave up. I tried twice. It is hard. You got to have a sense of urgency, know everything that's going on at every single time. And, it's not a slow process. It's fast, right, Bob?
It's the opposite of kiln form glass.
Big time. Yeah, it's hard.
It's all about feeling the viscosity of the glass and how it's moving in the flame and the flame chemistry. You think bullseye glass has complex chemistry? Look at North Star glass. If you have your chemistry slightly different in the flame, you get totally different results. So
I love that too, Mary.
I'm now loading up part of the Salt Spring landfill.
Nice. Well, guys, I'm trying to get to Glass Gab more. We had a lot of makeup classes from the pandemic. We did, when that started, we canceled, several classes, like all of them. And so we're almost to the end of making those up. So I am going to get to Glass Gab once a month, maybe twice. So I would like to hear from you guys, hear from you regarding, what guests you want on and your topics. Keep those coming to me. I have a folder. Keep them coming. Besides that, Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and tell Lisbeth we said hi. And also, we should tell the Jedi Knights here that you do have Facebook groups for the videos, that you are there to support them as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for everybody for participating. It's a lot of fun. I love it's my way of getting out and meeting people.
That's awesome. Well, guys, we're going to part. It looks like the questions are done. Bob, stay, have fun out there in that great place that you're at in Salt Spring. And you've always been a hero and idol of mine. I remember seeing your work in the 90s, warm glass board. I don't know if that's active anymore, the warm glass board.
It is, but not as active as other places.
Yeah. And I remember seeing your crackle pieces, and I thought, oh my gosh, will I ever be able to even remotely do anything with that? And now we're sitting here talking today. So that's pretty incredible for me. So thank you so much for your time. Guys, we're signing off. Thank you to everyone. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Bob, to you and to everyone.
Yeah, same to you.